One is called as a function-based views, and second one is called as a class-based views. Okay, right? So there is a function-based and one more is a class-based. So view is a program which receives the request from the client, process it, and generate the response. That is what we have seen. So view is a program which receives the request from the client, process it, and generate the response. So here, so DJing allows to develop, okay, views in two ways. Okay, that is function based and one more is a class based. So it means first one is using procedural oriented programming and second one is using object oriented programming. So whenever you are talking about object oriented, it allows extensibility. Okay, it allows what here? Extensibility and reusability. Okay, it allows extensibility as well as reusability. Okay. So here, the difference, if you see the difference between, if you see the difference between, so between class-based views and function-based views. So this is a difference between the function-based and class-based views. So this is function-based views, and this is class-based views. Suppose when you're working with the function-based views, in function-based views, okay, now first thing I'll tell you. So in function-based views, you write the request logic. Anyway, view contain which logic? Request logic. Means it will receive the request. View will receive the request. And after receiving the request, it will do the process. After receiving the request, it will do the process. But it will do the process based on the request methods. Suppose, suppose if the request method is, if request method is, if request method, if request method is get, okay, you write the logic belongs to get method. If the request method is post, if request method is post, you write the logic belongs to what here? Post. It means you are trying to write the logic for various request methods in one function. You are you are writing the logic for handling various request methods in one function. One function. This is one view. One view is having the logic of get as well as what? Post. Suppose if the request method is delete, then you'll say else if. Okay, request dot method equal to what here? Delete. Then here you write the logic belongs to delete. It means what you're doing, you're combining. you're combining, you're combining all the request method logics into one function. Suppose if any changes in get method, I have to do changes in view. Any changes in post method, I have to do changes in view. If any changes in delete method, I have to do changes in what? Delete. Because all the logics are combined or not? Yes. All the logics are combined in one function. But when it comes to the class-based view, when it comes to the class is a collection of members. It contains data members as well as member functions. When it comes to the class-based view, in class-based view, each request is handled by one method. Each request is handled by one method. Suppose if the request method is a get, it is handled by which method? Get method. It is handled by which method? Get method. It is having a get method. Okay. So arguments and keyword arguments. If the request method is a post, then it is handled by which method? Post method. It is handled by which method? Post method. Okay. star star keyword arguments. If the request method is a put or delete, it is handled by which method? Delete method. It means there is a separation of there is a separation of request logics or not. Yes. You are not combining everything inside one function. You are not combining everything inside one function. But rather than writing everything inside one function, it is divided into how many methods or how many functions here, number of functions. Suppose if there is a suppose if there is a changes in post method, you do changes only in which method? Post method, without doing changes in get method and what? Delete method. If any changes in delete method, you write the changes in delete method without doing changes in post and what is that? Get. So maintaining your code becomes what? Easy. Getting on. So here there is no separation of everything is combined in one view function. But here each request method is separated with individual methods. Each request method is handled by using different methods. But here all the request methods are handled by using one function. But here every request method is handled by individual functions. So there is a clear separation is there here. There is a clear separation for each and every request method. Okay. So this is first difference. This is a first difference. First difference is there. In function based views, okay, all request methods, all request methods handled by, okay, all request methods handled by one view function, one view function, okay, one view function are combined, okay, combined all all the request method logics, all the request method logics, all request method logics inside one function, inside one view function. Okay. But whereas in class based views, so every request method is handled by a separate function, a separate, okay, a separate function, a separate function, or what is that? Method. So here maintaining code. So maintaining code is easy. Maintaining code is easy. So understanding the code also what here? Easy. Maintaining code is easy. Understanding the code is also easy. So maintaining code is easy and easy to understand. Now this is the first difference between the function based views and class based views. Then next one is, now when it comes to the function based views, you may repeat the same logic again and again. You may repeat the same logic again and again. That is code redundancy. Function based views, function based views come across. Okay, code function based views having code redundancy. Okay, redundancy. Code redundancy will be there. Means repeating the same code again and again. Repeating the same code again and again. That is called as a code redundancy. When there is a code redundancy, if there is a changes in done in one place, you have to do changes in all the places. So that will become what? Very complex, right? What is a code redundancy is repeating the same code again and again. Repeating the same code again and again. For example, assume that I want to create a record. I want to create I want to create a record or row. Okay, for example, I want to create a student row or student record, or I want to create a person record. I want to create which record here? Person record. I want to create a product record. Okay, I want to create a product record. But if you see create logic is the same, only model is changed. Create logic is the same. Which one is changed? Model is changed. Logic is the same. How to create it? Suppose if you want to create a student record, you create an object of, okay, you create an object or you'll say student dot, okay, student dot object dot, what is that? Create. Student dot object dot create. If you want to create a person, then you'll say student dot object dot, sorry, person dot, person dot object dot, person dot object dot create. Person dot object dot create. If you want to create a product, then you say product dot object dot create. So here the logic is the same or different? Same. Suppose you want to list data, you want to list data. Suppose you want to list student data, then we'll say student dot objects dot all. Hmm. If you want to list person data, then we'll say person dot objects dot all. If you want to list product data, then you'll say product dot objects dot all. It means, okay, it means the this code you are repeating again and again. This code you are repeating it again and again. Operation is the same. Operation is same. What is the operation is listing data. What is the operation is here listing data and rendering this data into one template. Operation is what you are same, but which one is changed here? Model is changed. Then instead of writing the same code again and again, you write this code how many times? One time. You write this code one time in one class and use it how many times? Number of times using inheritance. So inheritance allows reusability as well as what? Extensibility. Inheritance allows reusability as well as what? Extensibility. Reuse. So function based views having code redundancy. Means you may repeat the same code again and again. But class based views, okay, avoids what your code redundancy. Avoid code redundancy using what is that? Inheritance and one more is what? Polymorphism. Means it will try to create a generic types. It will provide a generic types. It will provide a generic types. Generic means generalized. And which is inherited and you add some extra features. It is provided generic types. Generic type means, for example, in inheritance, always a superclass. In inheritance, always a superclass or base class or parent class is called which class? Actually, superclass is called which class? Generalized class. It is called which class? Generalized. What is the meaning of generalized class? Which is developed based on the commonality. Which is developed based on commonality. Commonality means which is having some common properties and what methods. For example, there is a student. A student is generalized. What is a student here is generalized. Student is generalized. It is having common properties of a student, common methods of student. Now there are different types of students. Now there is a student called MBA student. There is a student called MBA student. There is a student called which student? MCA student. So MBA student is a type of student and MCA student is a type of student. So what is MBA? MCA is specialized. What is MBA and MCA is specialized? HTML. Then what happened here? HTML you don't know. You are which class? Full stack? Full stack what? Python, huh? Then I started heading with what here? D Django, I said. Now you understood how you कैसा है यार आप लोग हाँ, मूवी पूरा देखने के बाद क्या मूवी देखे बोलते हैं क्या? हाँ, गलत मूवी में चले गए हो ना? हाँ, क्या बोलते हैं यार? किधर से आते समझ में नहीं आता। हाँ, हाउ यू गो टू इंटरव्यू एंड अटेंड रॉन्ग इंटरव्यू? Huh? You go to interview and enter into some wrong interview. Huh? God dear. आज एग्जाम है, क्या लिखते हैं क्या? एच टी एम एल डिजांगो। अभी ऐसा बोला मैं, एच टी एम एल बोले तो हेडिंग लिखते हैं ना, एच टी एम एल। एक बार तो रिपीट होता है एच टी एम एल बोल के। हाँ, आज एग्जाम है मगर क्या लिखते? कुछ भी नहीं लिखते। हाँ, फिर भी टेम्पलेट वर्ड नया था ना। टेम्पलेट वर्ड नया था ना यार। यू डोंट फाइंड टेम्पलेट वर्ड। एच टी एम एल में टेम्पलेट किधर से आता है यार? लिखते हैं, लिखते मगर ये लोग डाल देते आप लोग चले जाओ बोल के। So anyway, no problem. So class-based views avoid code redundancy using inheritance and what? Polymorphism. Means it allows to write the code only once and use how many times? Multiple times. That is one more advantage. So main advantage of class-based views is code redundancy. So that is always this class-based views. So class-based views are developed based on which principle? Dry principle. Okay, dry concept. Dry principle or dry concept. What is the dry stands for? Don't repeat yourself. It means don't repeat the code again and again. For example, you are creating a template. Suppose there is a template where you want to insert a form and input data. Then that is the same for all. You want to include all the fields in the template, all the fields in the template. Okay, and insert that insert that form within the template and generate some output. So that code will be the same for all the views. Instead of writing the same code again and again, you give only template. I mean, you give only input as a model. You just give input as a form. Then rest of the code is generated by whom? View all. Rest of the code is generated by whom? View all. So this avoid repeating the same code again and again. So Django is easy. Why? Because once you use a class-based view, you try to reduce the lot of code what you written in function-based view. Lot of code which is written in function-based view. For example, if the suppose we handle request method get and post. So get is for creating an empty form and post is for inserting data. Inserting data. So we need to create a template. We need to create a form. We should insert that form within the template and we should generate what? Output. You don't require to write all this code. You just define only properties. You define only properties. By using which model you want to you in which model you want to insert, by using which model you want to create a form, you just give only input, but rest of the things are generated by whom? You only. So it avoid writing the same code again and again. That is what you mean by generic. It provides generic views, and that generic views are inherited and define your own properties. Okay. So when it comes to the class-based views, you find different types of class-based views. Okay, you find, yes, you understood these differences, huh? So function-based views and class-based views. Now, when it comes to the function-based views are developed using which principle? Procedural oriented what? Programming. But class-based views are developed using object oriented programming. These are developed using object-oriented programming, and these are developed using procedural-oriented programming. When you are saying object-oriented programming, what is the advantage of object-oriented programming? Tell me here. What is the advantage of object-oriented programming? Reusability, reusability, uh, extensibility, modularity, and security. Reusability. Array, what is the advantage? I said. That is what. Huh? I said, what is the advantage? I didn't say principles. कुछ बोले तो कुछ आंसर देते आप कैसे एग्जाम में पास होता है क्या क्वेश्चन एक पूछे आंसर और एक लिखते व्हाट इज द एडवांटेज ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड ऐसे व्हाट इज द एडवांटेज ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड reusability, extensibility, modularity, and security. But how you are achieving all this using object-oriented principles? What are the object-oriented principles? Inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, abstraction. Yes or no? All these are the principles, not advantages. Oh, advantages है क्या? Encapsulation is advantage, huh? No. Polymorphism is advantage, huh? No. They are seven principles. What are those seven principles? What are the seven principles of object oriented? बोलो यार राजवंश हवा में न बोलना यार classes, objects, data encapsulation, data abstraction, inheritance.
ଇଏ ଲାଗିଯାଇଛି ସାରଙ୍କ ସହିତ ସାର୍ कॉन्फिडेंस पीएचडी इन कॉन्फिडेंस हवा में नहीं बोलना बोलছি ସେ କହିଲା
बोलो
ନେଇ
यार
7 ଟାଇପ ର କହୁଛି କଣ 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 ହାବାରେ କହୁଛୁ ବୋଲି ଡନ୍ ସାର୍
done अरे okay classes objects data encapsulation data abstraction inheritance polymorphism message passing done okay classes objects inheritance encapsulation polymorphism and abstraction yes फिर ये लो देखो यार हाँ मैं क्या पूछा अभी ये नो क्या पूछ रहा हाँ वही बोलते हैं यार आप लोग नहीं सुधरते यार हाँ सही है नहीं so what you are doing it class so whenever you talk about object oriented first you start with encapsulation next is polymorphism next is inheritance then abstraction ये चार ही है मतलब लोग लिखते हैं क्लास और ऑब्जेक्ट okay but you achieve you achieve all this by using classes and objects but object oriented principles are encapsulation polymorphism inheritance and abstraction and you can also tell class and object okay so what is the advantage of encapsulation so data hiding and one more is binding okay what is the advantage of polymorphism reusability and extensibility you achieve this reusability and extensibility using polymorphism and inheritance using polymorphism and inheritance you achieve reusability and extensibility and abstraction using abstraction means hiding abstraction means hiding the implementation details hiding which details implementation details by revealing only what you are revealing it Specifications. You are revealing specifications by hiding which details? Implementation details. How you achieve abstraction? By using abstract classes and abstract methods. You achieve this abstraction by using abstract classes and abstract methods. ओके ये पूरा मालूम रहे ना आज एग्जाम है ना ओके सो कुछ लिखे तो कुछ हो गए तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाता abstraction means hiding confidential information and revealing essential data क्या है ओ definition किसका है राजवंशी what is the definition is today or tomorrow I don't know yet I don't know hiding confidential information what is confidential information here what is confidential information किधर किधर से लाते हैं यार टर्म्स पूरा हाँ हाइडिंग कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन किसको दे रहे हैं यार कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम वेयर यू गेट ऑल दिस वर्ड्स हाइडिंग कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन रिवीलिंग एसेंशियल डेटा वो एब्स्ट्रैक्शन है क्या नो नो यार गलत है कॉन्फिडेंशियल डेटा क्या है पहले वो बताओ मैं ओके एनीवे यार वो that is function based views and one more is a class based views and based on okay just to see here based on the operations how it is wrong wrong only how it is wrong means फिर एक class लेना पड़ता है मेरे को हाँ? How it is wrong means I have to take one class hiding confidential information revealing essential data you say confidential information revealing essential data why you reveal the data advantage of encapsulation is data hiding then how you reveal the data here always the data is hidden then how you operate that hidden data using functions using what functions now then no end user here no who's end user इसलिए when you are telling answers right you should be careful if you are telling not showing unnecessary details to the end user then he'll ask who's end user who's end user नहीं मालूम then why use that term why use that term end user who's end user end user कौन है who's end user you are end user huh? who are you programmer then who's end user no idea और यूज कर दिए हाँ प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है यार दैट इज वेयर मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स फेल इन टेक्निकल बिकॉज ऑफ दैट ये पूरा कॉन्फिडेंशियल एसेंशियल ये कॉन्फिडेंशियल क्या है एसेंशियल क्या है अननेसेसरी डिटेल्स क्या है एंड यूजर क्या है ओके पूरा मालूम रहना यार अदरवाइज इट विल बी अ प्रॉब्लम ओके ना ठीक है यार ओ आपकी मर्जी है आई विल नॉट इंटरफियर based on the operations based on the operations performed by view okay it is classified they are classified they are classified they are classified into different they are classified into different categories they are classified into different categories they are classified into different categories I think there are some four categories are there so how many categories are there four categories one is called as a base views one is called as a base views and second one is called as a details views suppose So there are different types of views out there. First one is called as a base views. And generally these base views are called as a generic views. These base views are called which views? Generic views. And in these base views, again, you have a different types of views. Okay. Generic means, as in, what is the meaning of generic? Generic means generic. Generic. Generic means any type. Generic means what? Which is developed based on commonality. Common. Which is developed based on the commonality. Commonality. That is called as generic views. So here, base views are called as which views? Generic views. Here, base views are called as which views here? Generic views. Okay, there is a base views are there. And one more is you have a views called display views. So base views and you have a display views. And there are some views which are used for creating. And these views you call it as, what do you call it as? Edit views. These are called edit views. And one more is a date views. So these views are classified into different categories. But this category is based on what? The operations, what it performs. These categories are based on the operations, what it performs. What operations it performs. Based on that, these views are classified into how many categories? Four categories. Like in object oriented, you have different types of inheritances, right? Types of inheritances, right? How many types are there? Five or five or five types of inheritance. What is that? Single level, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical, hybrid. Yes, all these are different types of inheritances. These types of inheritances are based on what? They classified into different types, right? Based on what? Based on what they classified into different types. क्या हुआ यार? Based on what it has been classified. Single level बोले तो कितने क्लासेस रहता? दो रहता. दो. हाँ? पेरेंट क्लास. हाँ. मल्टी लेवल में more than two classes, right? So the way how you are organizing this classification is based on reusability of classes, number of classes, and organization of classes. Based on based on based on the reusability of classes and based on the organization of classes, it has been classified into how many types? Five types. Single level, multi level, multiple. मल्टी लेवल में दो रहता है, मल्टीपल में भी दो रहता है, बट द वे हाउ यू आर इनहेरिटिंग इज डिफरेंट. Here you are inheriting from another derived class, there you are inheriting two classes directly. How you are organizing, based on that it has been classified into what? Different types. So types of inheritance, no anyone can tell, but how they are organized, how they classified, why they classified, you should know that. Single level, multi level, multiple, hierarchical as well as what? Hybrid. Some people say hybrid inheritance, cyclic inheritance, right? So that is based on how it is reusing the classes. That is based on how it is organizing the classes. Based on that, it has been classified into how many types? Five types. Okay. Yes. I don't know what is access restriction here. Yeah, access restriction क्यों आया? uh, why this access restriction is came here? What is access restriction here? Tell me, yaar. What is this access restriction? क्या 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 की बोल दे रहे क्या यार? You know, hmm? What is access restriction? So base views are again classified into different types. Okay, now there is a base views are like this view and template view and redirect view. So there are three types of base views are there. One is a view and second one is template view and one more is what? Redirect view. And there is one more view is there which is called display views or list view. There is a list view and one more is details view. There are two types out there. One is list view and one more is a detail view. And one more is edit views. In this you have a create view. Okay, there is a create view and there is a form view. Yes. Yeah, just try to understand this. There is a create view, there is a form view, and one more is there is an update view, and there is what here delete view. And when it comes to the date views, you have a different views in date. This is nothing but like you have a active, so you have an active and date views. This will discuss again in detail. So these are called different types of views, and these are classified based on how it is performing the operations. The first one is base views, which are nothing but view and template view and redirect view. And display views are like list view and details view. And edit views are like create view, form view, update view, delete view. And date views are like active and date views. And this is again further classified into different categories. So first, let us talk about first base views. So base views are generic views. Base views are Base views are what here generic views, which are inherited by other view classes, other view classes. It means, for example, if you take a list view, okay, list view inherit which view? Base view, base class. Base view is nothing but base class. It means these are the views which are helpful in developing other views. These are the views which are helpful in developing what? Other views. Generic means which are developed based on commonality. Animal is what? Generalized. Dog is what? Specialized. Cat is what? Specialized. Every animal is having some common uh, methods or not? Yes. So, but implementation might be changes from one animal to another. That always in the hierarchy of inheritance, what is parent class? Generally, what is parent class? What parent class contain? Generally, what is parent class and what parent class contain? Generalized, generalized data and generalized methods. Generalized means the things which are common for all the subclasses. The things which are common for all the subclasses. What is the advantage of inheritance? Reusability. What is reuse? What is reuse? Variables and methods. What is a class? Is collection of variables and methods. You are reusing variables and methods of one class inside another class. Inheritance allows to build one new data type using existing data type. It allows you to build a new data type. You are creating one data type by inheriting the properties and behavior of what? Another data type. Writing a class is nothing but building one data type or not? Yes. So in the hierarchy of inheritance, always the base class view is what? Generalized. Now, for example, if you take list view inherit which view? View. List view inherit which view? Template view. List view inherit which view? Redirect. Suppose list view is there. List view is used to display the content of a model. List view display the content of what? A model. List view is which type? View type. List view is which type? View type. And list view also inherit which view? Template view. Because it should read the data from model and should render that data into what? Template. Then it should inherit the properties of which one? Template view. And to handle the request, then it should handle the request. To handle that request, it should inherit which view? Generalized view. And you can say template view again inherit which view? View. So view is nothing but a base class for all the views. View is a base class for what? All the views. If you want to develop any view that is inherited from which class? View class. Now create view is a view. Okay, details view is a view. Okay, edit view is a view. Form view is a view. And delete view is what? View. It means it inherit all the functionality of which class? View class. Getting or not? Okay. So base views are generic views which are inherited by other view classes. Other view classes, and these base views are base class views are three types. These base class views are three types. One is a view, and one more is what? Template view, and another one is a redirect view. Redirect view. We have done this. Redirect. So redirecting to another view. That is done by using which view? Redirect view. Okay. So what is the base views are? Generic views, which are inherited by other view classes. It means it is a view class, it allows to build other view classes. It is a view class, allows to build different types of view classes. That is done by using which class? Base view classes. Okay, these base class views are three types. One is a view and template view, and one more is a redirect view. Okay, then how to develop this view? Now I said this is which views? What you are learning? Function based or class based? Class based. Means you want to develop a view. How to develop a view? By inheriting which class? View class. You can develop a view by inheriting which class? Template view class. You can develop a view by using which class? Redirect view. You want to you want to list data, then you need to create a view called list view. Then how you create a list view? By inheriting which class? List view class. If you want to create a details view, then you create a details view by inheriting which class? Detail view class. If you want to edit data, then how can you create a view to edit data? By inheriting which class? By inheriting which class? Update view. If you want to delete the data, then how you create a delete view? By inheriting which class? Delete view class. If you want to insert the data, then how can you create a view to insert the data? By inheriting which class? Create view class. Are you getting or not? What do you say here? Okay. So these views are having predefined logic. These views classes are having predefined logic. These view classes are having predefined logic, but this view class is not having any predefined logic because these are which views? Base views. These are which views? Base view. It is not having any predefined logic. Every logic has to be written by whom? Programmer. You have to write the code for get method. You have to write the code for post method. But in list view, the code for get and post is already exists. You have to give only the properties. You want to list from which model? You want to display the details from which model? You have to define only model and template. Everything is taken care by which class? View class. Are you getting or not? Right? So please try to understand this. Now base views are generic views which are inherited by other view classes. The base class views are three types. One is view, template view, and one more is what? Redirect view. They ask this, what are the base view classes in Django? So what are base views? Base view classes here. What are the base views? What are class based views or base views? What are the base class views in Django? Right? Now, just now I said it is a object-oriented, reusable and organized manner. See, how many base class views are there? Three. One is a view, and one more is a template view, and one more is what? Redirect view. And these are called which views? Generic views. These are called which views? Generic views, right? All class-based views in Django ultimately inherited from the primary class. What is the primary class? Is view class located in Django dot views. Now you can see there is a class called view, and there is a class called template view, and there is a class called redirect view. The role of generic view, yes, tell me. Inheritance only. Class means object oriented programming. Class means what? Object oriented. So the role of generic class based views. Generic class based views for displaying data, list view, CRUD operations, database. Now all these are inherited from. All these are inherited from which classes? Base view classes. Right? Okay, right? So just try to understand this. Inheritance only. Inheritance only. All the view classes. All the view classes, these are called which classes? Parent classes. Base views, or you can say base class views. Base views are base class views. Now, for example, if you see error handling, all errors are inherited from, for example, you have a value error. Value error is inherited from, value error is inherited from, what class for all errors is? Exception. Exception. For exception, what is a superclass is? What is a superclass is? Base exception. What is a superclass is? Base exception. Value error is which type? Exception type. And exception is inherited from which class? Base exception class. Getting on. So is it all errors are all errors are raisable? No. Only which types of raisable? Only the types which are inherited from which class? Exception class. You cannot use all the objects. You cannot use all the objects with the raise. Which objects can be used with the raise? Only the objects which inherited from which class? Exception class. Can I write? Can I write like this? Can I write like this? There is a class A. There is a class A pass I said. Raise A. Can I raise an A object? Tell me, can I raise A object? No, because A is an exception or not an exception? Not an exception. A is a class. A is a class or A is a type. But is it having any properties of error? No. It is not raisable. But which one is raisable? If it is inheriting properties and behavior of which class? Exception class. It means all the objects cannot be raised. Only the objects which inherit which properties? Exception properties are are eligible for rising. In the same way, whenever you want to develop a view, who execute the view? Django server. Who will execute the view? Django server. But how Django server identifies a view if it inherit the properties of which class? View class. When it is inherit the properties of which class? View class. Same. See, how can you develop threads? Two ways are there. No, one is function based thread. One is function based thread and one more is class based. In class based thread, how you develop a thread? By inheriting which class? Thread class. By inheriting which class? Thread class. In function based thread, you are creating one callable object and you are sending to what? Thread object. In the same way, you can develop views in how many ways? Two ways. One is function based and one more is class based. Function based means you are writing a function. You are writing a function and that function is having one required argument called request, and in that you are handling all the request logic. But if you want to develop a view using class, then how to develop a view using class? Then Django is provided some classes. Django is provided some classes and you inherit those classes and build different types of views. You use those classes and develop different types of views. All these are what now? Abstracts. All these are what now? Abstracts. Abstracts. What is abstracts is some set of rules and regulations. And you are using these rules and regulations and then you are developing different types of views. You are using this set of rules and regulations and developing different types of views. Now, in this, the first class is view class. It is called a base class or super class for all the view classes. It is a base class or super class for all view classes. It is a base class view. Okay, view is a base class. View is a base class or super class. It is a base class or super class for all view classes. Now, whenever you want to develop any view, you want to develop a view, not specialized view. You want to build your own view. You want to build your own view. You want to develop a view where it will take the request and process it and generate a response. Okay, you don't want to develop a list view, or you don't want to develop a create view. You want to develop a view where you want to write your own logic. You want to create a view where you want to write your own logic. Then what do? You just use a base class called which one? View. So view is a base class or super class for all view classes. All view classes, and these view classes, these view classes can be what? Predefined view classes. This can be predefined view classes, or it can be what? User defined view classes. Now predefined view classes means now all these view classes are inherited which class? View class. Now if you want to build your own view, then you can also build your own view by inheriting which class? View class. You can build your own view by using which class? View class. So what view contain? What view contain? Generally, what view will do? It will take the request, process it, and generate what? Response. It will receive the request, process it, and generate what? Response. But you are sending a request by using various methods. You are sending a request using which method? Get method. You are sending a request using which method? Post method. For every request method, this view class will provide one method. If you want to write a logic of get, then you should override which method? Get method. If you want to provide the logic for post, then you override which method? Post method. Getting or not? Instead of writing everything in one function, instead of writing everything in what? One function, everything inside one function, you are dividing into number of functions and you are encapsulating within one class. What is that class is? View class. What is that class is? View class. So view class handle both the requests here. This is a top level base class for all class based views. It handle the core view logic such as ensuring view is a callable, assigning request, and using dispatch method route to the request to the appropriate HTTP method handlers like get, and one more is what? Post. So I'll tell you internal architecture like how this view will work. How the view is work, we'll see that, but I just copy this, right? So this is the top level view. Even though what I write the same thing is there, but anyway, but it is having different logics. It is having different logics. Are you getting what I'm telling you? What is a class? Class is a collection of variables and methods. Class is a collection of variables and methods. Methods perform operations. Okay, so view is having different methods to handle different requests. So there is a method called get, handle which request? Get request. There is a method called post, handle which request? Post request. There is a method called put, handle which request? Put request. There is a method called delete, handle which request? Delete request. So this will become very easy when it comes to APIs. When you work with REST APIs, API is nothing but application programming interface. It means your how other applications communicate with your web application. That is very easy. See, even REST API, you should have a knowledge of Django. Okay, na? Without knowing Django, you cannot develop RESTful services. Okay, that we'll discuss. But anyway, this is a top level base class for all class-based views, it handle the core view logic, such as ensuring the view is a callable, assigning the request to self.request, and using dispatch method to route to the request to the appropriate HTTP method, handles like get and what is that? Post. So what is the syntax? Just here. What is the syntax is class. How you develop a view class? View class name. Which view you want to develop? Just give the view class name and inherit which class? View class. So login view is a view. Okay, student view is a view. How you are developing a view? By inheriting which class? View class. But view is a generalized class or not? Yes. Inside this class, you have a different methods. Inside this class, inside which class? View class, you have a different methods. Now you are sending a request using which method? Get method, then override. Override which method? Get method. And this get method is having one parameter called which one? Self. Get comma self. It is which method? Instance method. And every instance method, first parameter is what? Self. Okay, self comma request. Self comma request comma you can define variable length positional arguments. You define variable length keyword arguments. Now here you are writing which logic? Here you are writing which logic? Get logic. You are writing which logic? Get logic. Get logic means when you are sending a request method, when you are sending a request using which method? Get method. When you are sending a request using which method? Get method, then it will dispatch the request to which method? Get method. It will dispatch the request to which method? Get method. If you are sending a request using a post method, then it will dispatch the request to which method? Post method. Means everything you are writing in one class or not? Yes. All the request methods logic you are writing in which one? One class. You are encapsulating everything inside one class. This is having which logic? Post logic. This is having post logic, and there is a method called put. All request methods are provided by view class. Star args star star keyword arguments. And here you are writing which logic? Put logic. Then you have a method called delete. You have a method called delete. Self comma request comma star args star star keyword arguments. Is it compulsory? This is no. These are optional. So here you have a delete logic, but you have to write the logic to perform all the operations. Let me tell you a simple example here. Okay, let me tell you a simple example. So creating which view? Alright, creating which view here? Class base view. This is which view? Till now we worked with which view? This is which view? Function base. Function. What is the name of the function is? Login view. In this, how many request methods logic is there? Two. Combined in one function or not? Yes. But here, is it combined in one function or different functions? Different functions. But all the functions are written in one. All the functions are written in one class. Here it is combined. Here it is combined. Logic is combined. But here logic is combined or separated? Separated in different functions and combined in one class. And what is that class is? View class. Understood? Here, see, what is this view request get and post? You write this both the request handling logic in one function or not? Yes. Instead of writing in one function, you write in two different functions to handle two different types of methods. If it is get, you write here logic. If it is a post, you write logic here. So understanding your code becomes what? Easy. And maintaining your code also becomes what? Easy. Understood? Right. So let me tell you this. बहुत मुश्किल है यार आप लोगों से. हाँ? सही है नहीं? जल्दी समझ में नहीं आता आप लोगों को? हाँ, आपको जल्दी समझ में नहीं आता? इसका मतलब किसका प्रॉब्लम है? हाँ, हमारा? आपका प्रॉब्लम है, मेरा प्रॉब्लम है? मेरा ये, उस प्रॉब्लम, आपका प्रॉब्लम है वो। हाँ, अभी जब से चिल्ला रहा हूं मैं, ऐसा लिखते बट फिर भी some students are blank. So create a project. Django admin, start a project. Start project. बोलो यार. So this is your project. Start application. So it means we are reducing the complexity in developing project. Okay, by avoiding redundant code. So that can be done by using which view? Class based views. Write it here. Right here. So class name. Just write any class name. Okay, I just write here view one. View one is what? View. View one is a view. Not uploaded. So from Django dot use import. What is the class is? View class. Now you are trying to import view class. Not uploaded. Okay. Just see here. Just to see now. Now this is a view one. View one is what here? View. How to develop a view by inheriting which class? View class. How to develop a view by inheriting which class? View class. View is which class? Generalized class or generic class. In this you don't have any predefined logic. Okay, suppose if it is create view is having a predefined logic. List view is having predefined logic. Okay, delete view is having predefined logic. But view doesn't have any predefined logic. Everything is written by whom? Programmer. Everything is written by whom? Programmer. So class view 1 inherit which class? View class. When you can call the view as a class? If it is inherit, view class only. If I am not inheriting view class, is it view 1 is a view? Tell me here, is it view 1 is a view or not a view? Not a view. When it is called as a view? Alright, when it is called as a view, if it inherit which type? View type. If it inherit which type? View type. When dog is called animal, if it is having properties of animal. If it inherit properties of animal, then it is called as animal. Otherwise, it is not called as animal, right? Huh? Yes. So view is a class. When it is called as a view, if it inherit the properties of which class? View class. Means you are developing a view by using a data type called which one? View. Then override. Override. Which method I override? Get method. Because I want to send a request using get method. This is an instance method having a request star args star star keyword arguments. Means you can send values to the view. What you can do? You can send the values to the view. You are handling which request? You are handling which request? Get request. You are handling which request? Get request. Means you are sending a request using which method? Get method. Get is a request to read data from server. Okay, read information from server can be done by using which method? Get method. It is receiving self request comma star args and star star keyword arguments. Now what do you have to do? बोलो यार क्या करना है इसमें? Send a response. Send what? Response. How you send a response from Django dot HTTP. What is the name of this is? HTTP response. I'm creating a response. Message. This is output. This output or response. This response is generated by which view? Class base view. Create a response object by saying http response, http response and message and then return. What do you return? Response. Return the response. Understood? What is say here? Yes or no? Previous one you are writing a function in the request dot method equal to get. But here you are writing logic directly in which method? Get method. Get is a superclass method. Which class method is? View class method. You are overriding in subclass. You are overriding in subclass. Okay. Created view. Okay. Then this view should be called or not? Yes. Then you have to define the URL. You have to define the URL. URL. Just go to the project urls.py. So from application 1.views import. What is the name of the view is view 1. But is it view 1 is a class or function? Class. Is it class is callable? No. Class is not callable. But which one is callable? Function is callable. You can call the function, but you cannot call the class. You can call the function, but you cannot call the class. Then to make your class as a callable, this view class is provided one method called as view. It provided one method called which one? As view. That will convert your class as what here? Callable. I said, how can you make your object as a callable? By overriding one method called which one? Call. There is one magic method will be there in object class that is called as underscore underscore call. Then your object becomes what? Callable. Your object becomes callable. So as view method is calling which method? Call method. As view method is calling which method? Call method. So that your object becomes what? Callable. Your object becomes callable. So path. Then just give the URL here. Give the URL view 1. What is the URL is? View 1, comma view 1. But view 1 is a callable? No. Whenever I say view 1, whenever I enter URL as a view 1, the request is sent to what? View 1. Means it will call which function? View 1 function. But view 1 is a function, huh? No. View 1 is what? Class. Is it class is callable? No. We should convert this class into what? Callable. For that, you are using one method called as view. You are using one method called which one? As view. As view is a method. It means what you are doing, you are converting a view class into what? Callable object. Callable object. Callable object. Then what will happen whenever you send a request to the view one? It will call. It will call your object. Your object is callable. Means it will call one method called call, and that method calls one method called dispatch. That will call which method? Dispatch method. What dispatch method will do is it will identify you send a request using which method. If the request method is get, then it will call which method? Get method of view class. If the request method is a post, it will call which method of view class? Post method. If the request method is delete, then it will call which method of view class? Delete method. Who is identifying? Who's identifying the request method is a get or post or delete by one method called dispatch. Dispatching. Dispatching means giving. Dispatching is nothing but what? Giving. Giving to whom? View methods. Giving to methods. Which method? Get method or post method or what? Delete method. But how it is dispatching it? Based on the request methods. Based on the request methods. If the request method is get, dispatch method dispatch the request to whom? Get. If a request method is a post, dispatch method dispatch the request to what? Post method. But who's recognizing the request method is dispatch. It means which method is called first? Get method or dispatch method? Dispatch method, which identifies the request method and dispatch that request to appropriate method. Understood? So we'll see that internal things here as view. As view, if you want, you can give the name. Okay, name. And what is the name I'm giving here? View 1. What is the name is? View 1. Okay, na? So class is not a callable. But how can you make the class as a callable? By invoking one method called as view. What will happen? Your view become what? Callable. Callable. Your view become what? Callable. Right. Then after defining urls.py, go to the settings.py and install the application. What is your application is? Application 1. Your application is what? Application 1. Anything else? No. We have not developed anything. Just open the terminal. Run the server now. Python manage dot py run server. What is the name of the view is? View 1. You can see this response is generated by class based view. Who generated this output? Class based view. Who generated this output? Class based view. You can see the output or not? Yes. But for example, here I am not using a get method. Here I am using which method? Which method? Post method. But I am sending a request using typing URL is nothing but sending a request using which method? Get method. If I press enter, now immediately it is given what? Error. Immediately it is given what? Error. This page isn't working right now because you send a request using which method? Get method, but you write which method? Post method. You write which method? Post method. Okay. So based on the request, based on how you are sending a request, you override a method. Now I'm sending a request. You can see this response is generated by which view? Class based view. Understood? These are the basic steps. But generally, when it comes to those predefined view classes, even you don't require to override get method and post method. But if you want to build a view class with your own logic, if you want to build your own view class with logic, not predefined logic, you want to write everything from the scratch. Everything you want to write from the scratch, then you develop it by inheriting which class? By inheriting which class? View class. You do that by using view class. Clear? Bolo here. Okay, now if you want post method, you write a post method. Okay, post self comma request comma a.gs. Okay, a.gs comma star star keyword arguments message equal to this response. This response is generated by class based view. Which method? Post method. Post method, and you are saying response equal to http response and wrapped with message and return what? Response. Return the response. But when you send a request using a post method, a dispatch method of view class, dispatch the request to which method? Post method. Okay, that is when if you send a request using post method. But until unless you don't send the request using post method, it will not send it, right? Okay. Now we'll discuss this in detail, not today, but we'll see tomorrow, right? So tomorrow I'll tell you more about this view. Just try to practice this so that you'll have some idea. And uh, one more thing is develop one project using function based views. Develop one project. Develop one project using function based views. Complete project. Functions use करके you have to develop one project. Project with the backend with MySQL. Okay. Project means what do you do in your project? Always you do CRUD operation, inserting, updating, deleting, retrieving data. But you do this based on some business logics. You do this by using some business logic. So please try to develop a simple project, not a very big, but simple, so that you'll have an idea how to work with the function based views. Okay, na? Thank you. We'll see tomorrow. Right. So converting class to view class, it is important. Yeah, because class is not a callable, right? Class is not callable. Then you have to convert your class into callable. For that, you are using a function called as view. You are using a function called as view that will return object, and your object is callable. Yes. I uploaded. Uploaded here. Just check once again. I'll upload again. Okay. Chandan, I'll upload. Yeah. Yeah. That's because it is a base class. Yeah, it is abstract. Mm. Mm. Why we are? Nothing is there means it doesn't have any request logic. Doesn't have a logic for get, post. This method's logic is not there. But there are some other methods are there now with some implementations. Okay, now if it is a generic view, mm, if it is a template view, you don't write anything. It is already written in what? Template view. You have to define only template name. If it is a create view, you don't write anything. You just define the model name. So are you writing any code? No. The code is already written in which method? Post method. पर जेनरिक व्यू में पूरा आप लिख रहे हैं और स्पेशलाइज्ड व्यूज रहते हैं ना उसमें आप नहीं लिखते कुछ भी इट इज ऑलरेडी रिटन इन विच क्लास बेस क्लास बट ऑल दोस क्लासेस आर इनहेरिटेड फ्रॉम विच क्लास व्यू क्लास so this view class allows you to build your own view classes. Okay, instead of using predefined view classes you can build your own logic. Okay na, right? Bolo. Hmm. Get method, it identifies कौन सा. Yes. Hmm. View class. View class. Yes. Yes. Dispatch method. Nothing is there. It is you don't have any logic for get method, post method. You don't have any logic for get method and post method. Who will write this? Programmer. क्लास किसके बाद? डिजाइन को की बात. क्लास 2-3 days में सीख सकते हैं. Once you have an idea of Django. Where in Flask. But you don't know anything about Flask, right? If you learn by yourself, no problem. Because you have a basic idea of this, then you can do it. Okay. Yeah, bolo, yeah. Bolo. We'll discuss. We'll discuss the architecture, how it will call Pradeep Kumar. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss here.